Grace's hands were still shaking when she flushed the toilet. The water swirled pink, then clear, taking the evidence with it. She'd just signed the papers 20 minutes ago. Her name next to his. Blue ink. Permanent. Her phone lit up on the bathroom floor. Naomi. Grace grabbed it. Hello, did you do it? Naomi's voice came through sharp. Grace, tell me you didn't do it. Grace's mouth opened but nothing came out. She ended the call. The phone buzzed again immediately. She declined it. Again. Declined. Again. Declined. Text message, answer me. Grace typed back, it's done. The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. Then oh God, no. Grace turned the phone off. She couldn't do this right now. Couldn't explain. Couldn't defend herself. She stood up, legs wobbling, and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back looked like a corpse. Eyes hollow. Skin gray. Already dead but still breathing. Someone knocked on the bathroom door. Grace. Richard's voice. Cold. Controlled. We have reservations in 40 minutes. Stop hiding. She opened the door. Richard stood there in a tailored suit, gray hair perfectly combed, looking at her like she was something he'd purchased and found disappointing. You look terrible, he said. There's something in the bedroom closet. 3rd door on the left. Change into it. Fix your face. We're meeting my lawyer for dinner and you need to look like a wife, not a refugee. Before Grace could respond, he walked away. She wanted to scream. Wanted to run. Wanted to grab her phone and call Naomi back and say she'd made a mistake, that she couldn't do this, that no amount of papers was worth this feeling crawling under her skin. But instead she walked to the bedroom. 3rd door on the left. The dress hanging in the closet was black. Expensive. Size 6. Exactly her size. How did he know her size? Grace touched the fabric and her stomach turned over again. This wasn't the first dress. This closet had other clothes. Different sizes. Different styles. All with tags still on them. How many women had worn these? How many had stood exactly where she was standing, touching fabric that felt like a noose? But I need to stop here. I need you to understand something before I go any further. If you're watching this right now, if you've made it this far, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button. Please. I need to know someone's listening. Comment below and tell me what city you're watching from. New York, Los Angeles, some small town I've never heard of. Tell me where you are so I can see how far my voice travels. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know that maybe somewhere someone will hear this and something will change. So subscribe. Comment. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you, it gets darker before it gets light. Now let me take you back. 3 hours before I threw up in that bathroom. 3 hours before I signed my life away. I was sitting in Richard's living room. He was pouring himself scotch. I was trying not to shake. Let me be very clear, Richard said, not looking at me. This is a business arrangement. You want citizenship. I want a wife. We both get what we need. Elena said you'd help with my sister, I said. My voice sounded small. I will. Once you're my wife and you have your conditional green card, we'll start the sponsorship process. 18 months. Maybe 2 years. Your sister and her family will be legal. And the kids, complicated but possible. He finally looked at me. But let's talk about your end of the bargain first. You will live here. You will maintain this household. Cook my meals. Keep things clean. You will accompany me to social functions and play the role of devoted wife. I nodded. Elena had told me all this. And you will share my bed. My throat closed up. I'm 64 years old, Richard continued. My needs are minimal. Twice a month, perhaps less. But they are non-negotiable. If you can't agree to that, leave now. I thought about Naomi. About Janet and David hiding in that closet. About the sound of boots in the hallway. I agree, I said. Richard smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Good. My lawyer will draw up the contract. You'll sign it. We'll marry next Monday. Simple. What about the last woman? The words came out before I could stop them. Elena said there was someone before me. Richard's expression didn't change. There was. It didn't work out. Why not? She violated the contract. He set his glass down. She thought she could renegotiate terms after the wedding. She was wrong. What happened to her? Nothing that concerns you. Richard stood up. Monday. 9 a.m. Courthouse. Don't be late. That was 2 weeks ago. Let me show you what happened between that conversation and the bathroom floor. ICE came to our building on a Tuesday morning. 6 a.m. I was already awake getting ready for my first cleaning job when I heard the pounding on doors downstairs. Not knocking. Pounding. I ran to Naomi's room. Get the kids. Now. Naomi was already moving, pulling Janet and David from their beds. Marcus stood frozen by the window. Marcus, help me, Naomi hissed. He didn't move, just stared at the street below where 3 ICE vans were parked. Marcus, the pounding moved upstairs. 5th floor. We were on 6. I grabbed David, who was crying silently, and shoved him toward the bedroom closet. Get in. Both of you. Don't make a sound. Janet's eyes were huge. Aunt Grace, now baby. Now. They climbed in. I covered them with blankets and clothes, anything I could find. Naomi was shaking so hard I could hear her teeth chattering. The pounding reached our floor. Right outside our door. Immigrant, open up. Marcus finally moved. He ran to the closet, squeezed in with the kids. Naomi and I stood in the living room holding hands, not breathing. Immigrant, we know you're in there. They pounded for 5 minutes. Then moved to the next apartment. We heard Mrs. Garcia screaming in Spanish. Heard her husband begging. Heard their door break open. Janet started crying in the closet. Naomi put her hand over the girl's mouth. I could see Naomi's hand shaking. Could see David's eyes wide and terrified, staring at nothing. Mrs. Garcia was still screaming when they dragged her past our door. Her husband too. Their teenage son. All 3 of them gone. After they left, after the vans drove away, after the building went silent, I helped Naomi pull the kids from the closet. David had wet himself. Janet couldn't stop shaking. Marcus lit a cigarette with hands that wouldn't stay still. We can't stay here, Marcus said. They'll come back. Where are we going to go? Naomi asked. Tell me where. Tell me where we can go that's safe. Marcus had no answer. That's when I called Richard's lawyer. That's when I said yes. That's when I sold myself for papers. But here's the thing nobody tells you about that moment. The moment you agree to save your family by destroying yourself. You think you're making a choice. You think you're being brave. You think you're doing the right thing. You're not. You're just picking which way to die. The contract was 12 pages long. The lawyer, a man named Harold with dead eyes and expensive cufflinks, slid it across his desk like it was a restaurant menu. Read carefully, he said. Initial each page. Sign at the bottom. I read it. Every word. 10-year marriage minimum. 7 years before divorce allowed without losing status. Share a bedroom. Fulfill wifely duties. No working outside the home without permission. $500 monthly allowance. Violation of any term results in immediate termination and reporting to immigration authorities. There was a clause about pregnancy. In the event of conception, the agreement shall be terminated immediately and all parties forfeit all benefits. I looked up at Harold. What does that mean? It means don't get pregnant. But if I do, then you're on your own. No green card. No sponsorship. Nothing. My hand was cramping from holding the pen. And if he changes his mind about helping my sister? Harold's expression didn't change. That's not covered in the contract. You'll have to trust him. Trust. I almost laughed. I signed anyway. Every page. Every initial. My signature at the bottom next to where Richard had already signed. Harold collected the papers. The wedding is Monday. Bring your passport and birth certificate. The judge won't ask many questions. Don't volunteer information. What should I say? As little as possible. I left his office and called Naomi from the parking lot. She answered on the first ring. Where are you? She asked. Grace, what's happening? You've been gone all day. I need to tell you something. Silence. Then, oh no. Grace, what did you do? I found a way. To get you papers. To keep you safe. How? Grace, how? I couldn't say it. Couldn't form the words. Finally, I'm getting married. Another silence, longer this time. What to who? You're not dating anyone. You never date. His name is Richard. He's a citizen. He's going to help us. Grace. Naomi's voice changed. Is this real? Is he real or is this? She stopped. Oh God. Is this one of those marriages, the kind Elena does? I didn't answer. Grace, no. No, no, no. You can't. I won't let you. It's done. I signed the papers today. We're getting married Monday. Then unsign them. Tell him you changed your mind. Grace, you can't do this. I can and I will. My voice came out harder than I meant. Naomi, they almost took you last week. They took Mrs. Garcia. They took her son. He was 17. Do you understand? They're coming for you next. This is the only way. But what about you, Grace? What about you? I looked at the parking lot. At the cars driving past. At the world that kept moving like nothing was wrong. I'll be fine. You're lying. I'm hanging up now. Grace, please. I ended the call. Turned the phone off. Drove back to the apartment and told everyone I was visiting a friend for the weekend. Packed a small bag. Left before anyone could ask questions. I spent 3 nights in a motel near the courthouse preparing myself for Monday. Preparing myself for the moment I'd walk into that building and become someone else. Someone who could be bought. Someone who could smile and say I do to a man who looked at her like she was property. Monday morning came too fast. I put on the simple blue dress I'd bought at Goodwill. Did my makeup in the motel bathroom mirror. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I thought they'd shake. I thought I'd cry. But I was calm. Dead calm. The way people are calm when they've accepted their execution. Richard was already at the courthouse when I arrived. Suit and tie. 2 strangers beside him who he introduced as witnesses. Their names went in one ear and out the other. The judge was a woman in her 50s. She looked bored. Do you, Grace Okafor, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I opened my mouth. The word stuck in my throat. I couldn't say it. Couldn't make myself speak. Richard's hand tightened on mine. A warning. I do, I whispered. Do you, Richard Holloway, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. He said it clearly. No hesitation. By the power vested in me by the state of Connecticut, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Richard kissed me. His lips were cold and dry. It lasted 3 seconds. It felt like drowning. The judge signed the certificate. The witnesses signed. Richard signed. I signed. And just like that, Grace Okafor became Grace Holloway. Became a wife. Became owned. We left the courthouse. Richard held my arm like I might run. You did well, he said. Very convincing. I said nothing. We'll go back to the house. You'll move your things in. Tonight we're having dinner with my lawyer to discuss next steps for your sister's sponsorship. Tonight my voice cracked. We just got married. Can't we what, have a honeymoon? Richard laughed. This isn't a romance, Grace. This is a transaction. The sooner you understand that, the easier this will be. He opened the car door for me. I got in. He drove us to his house in Connecticut. The gates opened automatically. The house loomed ahead, white and massive and cold. Welcome home, Richard said. I wanted to throw up again. Wanted to scream. Wanted to tell him this was a mistake, that I couldn't do this, that I needed out. But I thought about Janet and David. About Naomi. About promises. So I got out of the car. Followed Richard inside. Let him show me where everything was. Kitchen. Living room. Office. Master bedroom. That's where you'll sleep, he said, pointing to the king-sized bed. With me. I thought I couldn't finish. You thought what, that you'd have your own room number? We're married. We need to look married. And that means sharing a bed. He left me there. I stood in the bedroom staring at that bed, and something inside me finally broke. Not dramatically. Not with tears or screaming. Just a quiet snap. Like a bone breaking cleanly. You don't hear it. You just feel something give way and know it'll never be the same. Now I'm standing in front of the closet. The black dress in my hands. Richard's voice echoing from downstairs. Grace, we're leaving in 10 minutes. I put the dress on. It fits perfectly. Of course it does. Richard thinks of everything. I walk downstairs. Richard is waiting by the door. He looks me up and down and nods. Better. Much better. You almost look like you're worth the investment. I follow him to the car. We drive in silence. I watch the houses pass by. Big houses. Safe houses. Houses where people sleep without fear. Where children don't hide in closets. Where women don't sell themselves for papers. We pull up to a restaurant. Expensive. The kind of place where they put the napkin in your lap for you. Harold is already inside, sitting at a corner table. Congratulations, Harold says when we sit down. How does it feel to be married? Richard orders wine. I order water. Harold orders for all of us without asking what we want. Let's discuss the sponsorship. Harold begins. Grace, your sister and her family are currently undocumented, correct? Yes. And they overstayed tourist visas? Yes. Harold and Richard exchange a look. What? I ask. What is it? There's a complication, Harold says slowly. Since they're already in the country illegally, the sponsorship process is more complex. It could take longer than we initially discussed. My heart drops. How much longer? 3 years. Maybe 4. 4 years, you said 18 months. Richard cuts his steak calmly. Plans change, Grace. Surely you understand that. You lied to me. I gave you an estimate. Estimates aren't promises. I stand up. The chair screeches against the floor. I want out. I want a divorce. Right now. Richard doesn't even look up from his plate. Sit down. No. Sit down or I make one phone call and your sister's family is deported by morning. I have friends at ICE. Good friends. So sit down. I sit. Richard takes another bite of steak. That's better. Now let me make something very clear. You signed a contract. You're my wife. For the next 10 years you belong to me. Your sister's sponsorship happens when I say it happens. If you're good, if you behave, maybe it happens in 3 years. Maybe 4. Maybe never. That depends entirely on you. I can't breathe. Can't think. Can't process what he's saying. Harold clears his throat. There is one other thing, Grace. The woman before you. Her name was Maria. She violated the contract. I know, I whisper. Richard told me. Did he tell you how I look at Richard? He's smiling. She tried to leave after 6 months, Harold continues. Richard reported her. She was deported within a week. But before that happened, she had an accident. Fell down the stairs. Broke 3 ribs and her collarbone. The restaurant swims around me. Maria never filed charges, Harold says. Because if she had, Richard would have made sure her entire family back in Honduras was visited by some very unpleasant people. So she kept quiet. Healed up. Got deported. And now she's back in Honduras, probably wishing she'd kept her end of the bargain. Richard wipes his mouth with his napkin. I tell you this, Grace, so you understand. I keep my promises. But I also keep my leverage. You want your sister safe, then you be a good wife. Cook my meals. Clean my house. Warm my bed. And maybe in a few years I'll make a phone call for Naomi. Maybe. He stands up. We're leaving. Say good night to Harold. I can't speak. Can't move. Richard pulls me up by the arm. Now, Grace. Good night, I whisper to Harold. We drive home in silence. When we pull into the driveway, Richard turns off the engine but doesn't get out. This is your life now, he says quietly. The sooner you accept that, the easier it'll be. Fight me and I make your sister's life hell. Obey me and eventually everyone gets what they want. Your choice. He gets out. Walks to the house. Leaves the car door open for me. I sit there in the dark, engine ticking as it cools, and I understand now. I understand what I've done. I haven't saved my family. I've just traded one prison for another. And this one has no walls. No bars. Just a man who owns me and knows it. I get out of the car. Walk to the house. Up the stairs. Into the bedroom. Richard is already there, taking off his tie. Get some sleep, he says. Tomorrow I'll show you your duties around the house. We start fresh tomorrow. He goes into the bathroom. I hear the shower turn on. I sit on the edge of the bed and turn my phone back on. 17 missed calls from Naomi. 32 texts. The last one says, Grace, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, come home. Please. We'll figure something else out. Don't do this. But it's too late. I'm already doing it. I'm already dead. Grace deleted all of Naomi's messages. Every single one. Then she blocked the number. Her hands moved automatically like they belonged to someone else. Someone who knew how to survive. Someone who understood that the only way forward was to cut the rope behind you. The shower stopped running. Richard came out wearing a bathrobe, his gray hair slicked back and dripping. I put towels in the bathroom for you, he said. Fresh ones. The green set. Don't use the white ones. Those are mine. Grace nodded. She didn't trust herself to speak. And Grace, Richard sat on his side of the bed. From now on you sleep on the left. I sleep on the right. Don't cross to my side unless I invite you. Understood, understood. He turned off the lamp on his nightstand. The room went dark except for the moonlight coming through the window. Grace could hear him breathing. Could smell his cologne. Could feel the mattress shift as he settled in. "Good night, wife," he said. Grace lay there still in the black dress staring at the ceiling. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just counted the seconds until she heard Richard's breathing change become deeper, steadier. Asleep. She waited another hour to be sure. Then she got up, grabbed her phone and went to the bathroom. Locked the door. Turned on the shower to cover any sound. And called Naomi from her email app on a different number. Naomi answered immediately. "Grace, oh my God, Grace, where are you? I've been calling you for hours." "Your phone's off and I thought I can't talk long," Grace whispered. "I just needed to hear your voice." "Are you okay? Where are you? What happened?" "I'm at his house." "Richard's house. I'm his wife now." Naomi was quiet for a moment. "Then tell me you're joking. Please tell me this is some kind of sick joke." "It's real. We got married this morning. And Naomi, I need you to listen to me. I blocked your number. I had to. Richard checks my phone. He checks everything. So you can't call me anymore. You can't text me. If he sees your name he'll know I'm still in contact with you and he'll—" Grace's voice broke. "He'll make things harder. Harder, Grace. What is he doing to you?" "Nothing yet. But he will. And I need you to understand something. This is going to get bad. Really bad. And I can't have you trying to save me, because if you do, if you come here or call the police or anything like that, he'll destroy all of you. He has connections at ICE. He told me tonight. If I step out of line he makes one phone call and you're gone. All of you. Janet, David, Marcus. Gone. Then we leave, we'll go to Canada. We'll figure something out. Grace, you can't stay there. You can't do this." Grace pressed her forehead against the cold tile wall. "It's already done. And in 3 or 4 years, if I'm good, if I do everything he wants, he'll sponsor you. He'll make you legal. That's the deal. 3 or 4 years, Grace, you said 18 months. He lied. They all lied. But it doesn't matter now. What matters is that you stay safe. You keep the kids quiet. You don't draw attention. And you wait. I can't let you do this. You don't have a choice. Neither of us do." Grace could hear Richard moving in the bedroom. "I have to go. I love you. Tell the kids I love them. And Naomi, don't try to find me. Don't try to contact me. Just survive. That's all I need you to do." She hung up before Naomi could respond. Deleted the call log. Turned off the shower. Went back to the bedroom. Richard was sitting up in bed, lamp on, arms crossed. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. Grace's heart stopped. "No one. I was just— Don't lie to me. I heard you on the phone. It was just the shower. I had it running." Richard got out of bed. Walked over to her. Held out his hand. "Give me your phone." "Richard, now." Grace handed it over. Richard scrolled through her recent calls, her messages, her email. Found nothing because she'd deleted everything. But he kept looking, kept searching, like he knew she was hiding something. Finally he gave it back. "One warning. That's all you get. 1. Next time I catch you sneaking around making secret calls, lying to me, I call ICE before you can blink. Are we clear?" "Yes." "Good. Now take off that dress. You're wrinkling it. And you need to get used to sleeping next to me. We have a long road ahead of us." Grace changed in the bathroom. Put on the nightgown she found hanging on the back of the door. Plain white cotton. Not hers. Someone else's. Maria's maybe. The woman who fell down the stairs. When she came back to the bedroom, Richard was already asleep again. Or pretending to be. Grace climbed into bed on the left side, as far from him as possible. She lay there until sunrise, eyes open, listening to him breathe, wondering how many nights she'd have to survive before this became normal. Before she stopped feeling like she was dying. Morning came too fast. Richard was up at 6, shaking her awake. "Get up. I want breakfast by 7. Eggs, toast, coffee. Black. No sugar." Grace stumbled to the kitchen. Found the eggs in the fridge. The bread in the pantry. Made breakfast like she was on autopilot. Richard came down dressed in slacks and a button-down shirt, reading the newspaper at the table. "You cook slow," he said when she set his plate down. "You'll need to work faster. I have a schedule." Grace sat across from him with her own plate. Took one bite. Couldn't swallow. The food tasted like cardboard. "Eat," Richard commanded. "You're too thin. I won't have people thinking I don't feed my wife." Grace forced the food down. Bite after bite. Each one harder than the last. Richard finished his breakfast, folded his newspaper and stood. I'll be in my office until noon. I want the house cleaned by the time I'm done. Start with the kitchen, then the bathrooms, then vacuum the living room and dust everything. There's a list on the counter. Don't skip anything. He left. Grace looked at the list. 23 items. Everything from scrubbing the stove to polishing the silverware to organizing his sock drawer. She picked up the list and started working. By noon her hands were raw from cleaning solution. Her back ached from bending over the bathtub. Her knees hurt from kneeling on hard tile. Richard came downstairs, white glove in hand, and ran his finger along the mantel. Dust, he said, showing her the finger. You missed a spot. I'll clean it again. Yes, you will. Right now. While I watch. Grace redusted the entire living room while Richard stood there, arms crossed, pointing out every speck she missed. When she finished, he nodded. Better. Now make lunch. I want a sandwich. Turkey. Lettuce. Tomato. Mayo on one side only. Cut diagonally. And chips on the side. Not touching the sandwich. Grace made the sandwich exactly as he described. Cut it diagonally. Arranged the chips on the side. Brought it to him on a tray with a glass of water. Richard took one bite. Spit it out. This is disgusting. The bread is too soft. The turkey is too thick. Make it again. Richard, it's the same turkey, make it again. Grace made 3 sandwiches before Richard finally accepted one. By then it was 2 in the afternoon. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. Her hands were shaking from exhaustion. You can eat now, Richard said. Then I want the bedrooms cleaned. All of them. There are 4 guest rooms upstairs. Strip the beds. Wash the sheets. Make them fresh. I'm having guests this weekend. Grace ate standing up in the kitchen. A piece of the rejected turkey. Some chips. Water from the tap. Then she went upstairs and started stripping beds. The guest rooms were enormous. Each one bigger than the apartment she shared with Naomi. Each one perfectly decorated with furniture that looked like it cost more than Grace made in a year. She moved from room to room like a machine, stripping sheets, carrying them downstairs, loading the washing machine, coming back up, doing it again. By 6 p.m. she was on the last room when her phone buzzed. Not her real phone. The other one. The one Richard didn't know about. The one she'd hidden in her bag. She pulled it out. Text from Elena. How are you holding up? Grace typed back with shaking fingers. He's worse than you said. Do you need help? Number. If I leave, my sister dies. I'm stuck. 3 dots appeared. Then there's a woman. Dr. Patel. She runs a clinic for immigrant women. Free. Confidential. If you ever need medical care or someone to talk to, let me know and I'll send you the address. Grace saved the number. Deleted the messages. Hid the phone again. She finished the last bed just as Richard called up the stairs. Grace, dinner. I want pot roast. Grace had never made pot roast in her life. She went downstairs and told Richard this. Then learn, he said. YouTube it. Google it. I don't care. But I want pot roast on the table by 8 or you're sleeping on the couch. Grace spent 2 hours making pot roast from a recipe she found online. Her hands were blistered from handling hot pans. Her eyes stung from the onions. When she finally served it, Richard took one bite and pushed the plate away. Overcooked. Dry. Inedible. Richard, the first did my best. Your best isn't good enough. He stood up. Clean this up. Make yourself something to eat. And Grace, tomorrow I want lasagna. Homemade. From scratch. No box mix. No shortcuts. Real lasagna. Can you manage that? Grace nodded. Good. Richard walked to the stairs, then turned back. Oh, and tonight is our first night as a real married couple. So shower. Make yourself presentable. I'll be waiting in the bedroom. Don't take too long. He went upstairs. Grace stood in the kitchen, pot roast congealing on the plate, and felt something inside her go numb. Not panic. Not fear. Just nothing. An empty space where her emotions used to be. She cleaned the kitchen mechanically. Washed the dishes. Put away the food. Then went upstairs, took the longest shower she could justify, and finally went to the bedroom. Richard was already in bed reading a book. He set it down when she entered. Come here, he said. Grace's feet moved. She had no control over them. They just moved, carrying her to the bed, to him, to the thing she'd agreed to when she signed that contract. Don't look so terrified, Richard said. I told you. My needs are minimal. This won't take long. It took 17 minutes. Grace counted every second, stared at the ceiling, left her body and watched from somewhere else. Someone else's body. Someone else's life. When it was over, Richard rolled off her and went to sleep immediately. Grace lay there feeling like her skin was crawling off her bones and finally let herself cry. Silent tears. No sound. Just water leaking from her eyes like her body was trying to purge itself of the last hour. She cried until she had nothing left. Then she got up, went to the bathroom and scrubbed herself until her skin was red and raw. It didn't help. She could still feel him. Could still smell him. Could still hear his voice in her ear saying, "Good girl. You're learning." The next morning started the same way. Richard woke her at 6. Demanded breakfast. Gave her another list of chores. Criticized everything she did. By the end of the week, Grace had lost 8 pounds. Her hands had permanent cracks from cleaning solution. Her back was locked in a constant spasm. And she'd stopped sleeping entirely. Just lay in bed next to Richard counting hours until sunrise. On Saturday, Richard's friends came over for dinner. Grace spent 12 hours cooking. Lasagna, garlic bread, salad, dessert. Everything homemade. Everything perfect. She set the table with the good china. Lit candles. Made everything look like a real dinner party. The guests arrived at 7. 3 couples. All white. All wealthy. All looking at Grace like she was an exotic pet Richard had acquired. "Where did you two meet?" one of the wives asked. Her name was Barbara. She had diamonds on every finger. "Online," Richard said smoothly. "Grace is from Nigeria. Came here to pursue her nursing career. Love at first sight. Wasn't it, darling?" Grace forced a smile. "Yes. Love at first sight. How romantic," Barbara cooed. "And you're so lucky, Richard. She's beautiful. And so young. What are you, dear?" 30, 42. "Oh well, you look younger. Must be those good genes." The conversation continued like that all night. The women asking Grace invasive questions about Nigeria, about her family, about how she managed to land someone like Richard. The men mostly ignored her except to compliment the food. Richard played the devoted husband perfectly. Touched her shoulder. Called her darling. Told stories about their courtship that were complete fiction. When the guests finally left at midnight, Richard closed the door and turned to Grace. "You did well tonight," he said. "A few mistakes. You laughed too loud at John's joke. And you forgot to refill Martha's wine glass. But overall acceptable." "Thank you," Grace said, "because that's what you said to your owner when he approved of your performance." "Clean this up. I'm going to bed. Don't wake me when you come up." Grace spent 2 more hours cleaning the kitchen, packing up leftovers, washing dishes by hand because the dishwasher was full. By the time she finished, it was 3 in the morning. She dragged herself upstairs, collapsed on the bed and passed out instantly. 2 hours later, Richard woke her up. "We're going to church. Get dressed. Look nice. We need to be seen as a normal couple." Grace wanted to scream. Wanted to tell him she'd had 2 hours of sleep. Wanted to refuse. But she got up, put on a dress, did her makeup and followed Richard to the car. Church was torture. Sitting in the pew pretending to listen to the sermon while Richard held her hand and smiled at the other parishioners. After the service, people came up to congratulate them on their marriage. Asked how they met. When the wedding was. If they were planning children. "Not yet," Richard said. "We're enjoying being newlyweds first." An older woman grabbed Grace's hand. "You're so blessed, dear. Richard is a good man. A godly man. You take care of him now." Grace nodded. "I will." On the drive home, Richard said, "You need to smile more. You look miserable. People will notice." "I'm tired." "Then sleep less." "I don't care. But when we're in public, you smile. You laugh. You act like you're happy. That's part of the job." Grace stared out the window. They passed a park where children were playing. Families having picnics. Normal people living normal lives. People who could leave if they wanted to. People who owned themselves. "Did you hear me?" Richard asked. "Yes. I'll smile more." "Good." When they got home, Richard went to his office. Grace went to the kitchen and started making lunch. Grilled cheese sandwiches. Simple. Hard to mess up. But her hands were shaking so badly she burned the first 2. She was on the 3rd attempt when the doorbell rang. Grace door Richard yelled from his office. Grace wiped her hands and opened the front door. A young woman stood there. Early 20s. Latina. Beautiful. Terrified. Is Mr. Holloway home? The woman asked. Yes. Who are you? I'm Maria's sister. Lucia. I need to talk to him. About what he did to my sister. Grace's blood went cold. You shouldn't be here. Please. I just need 5 minutes. I need him to tell me the truth about what happened to Maria. She won't talk about it. She just cries. But I know he did something. I know he hurt her. Richard appeared behind Grace. Lucia. What a surprise. Lucia's face went white. Mr. Holloway. I just want to know you want to know what. Richard's voice was pleasant. Calm. What happened to your sister? I'll tell you. She violated our contract. She tried to leave. So I enforced the terms. That's all. You broke her bones. I enforced the terms, Richard repeated. And then I did her a favor. I could have pressed charges. Had her arrested. Instead I simply ended our arrangement and let immigration handle it. She should be grateful. Grateful. She's traumatized. She can't sleep. She has nightmares. Richard shrugged. That's unfortunate. But it has nothing to do with me. Now Lucia, I suggest you leave. Before I call the police and tell them you're trespassing. Lucia looked at Grace. Please. Don't let him do to you what he did to Maria. Get out while you can. Richard's hand clamped down on Grace's shoulder. My wife is fine. Aren't you, darling? Grace's mouth wouldn't work. She tried to speak but nothing came out. See, Richard said to Lucia. She's perfectly happy. Now leave. Before I make things difficult for you and your family. Lucia's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Grace one more time, then turned and ran. Richard closed the door, locked it, turned to Grace. Did you invite her here? No, I've never seen her before. Did you contact Maria? Is that what this is about? I don't even know Maria. The first swear. Richard studied her face. I believe you. But this is a problem. If people start coming here asking questions, causing trouble, it puts everything at risk. So here's what's going to happen. From now on you don't answer the door unless I tell you to. Understood? Understood. And if anyone asks you about me, about our marriage, about anything, you tell them we're happy. We're in love. Everything is perfect. Say anything else and I'll know. I have ways of finding out. And then Naomi and those kids will be on a plane back to Lagos before you can blink. Grace nodded. Say it. Say you understand. I understand. Richard smiled. Good girl. Now finish making lunch. I'm hungry. He went back to his office. Grace returned to the kitchen on legs that barely worked. She finished the grilled cheese, burned it again, threw it away, started over. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Lucia's face kept appearing in her mind. Maria's story. Broken bones. Nightmares. That would be her. Eventually. Grace knew it with absolute certainty. One day she'd step out of line, violate the terms, make Richard angry. And then she'd fall down the stairs too. Or have an accident. Or disappear. She served Richard his lunch. He ate it without comment. Grace stood in the doorway waiting to see if he'd send it back. Waiting for the criticism. The insults. The punishment. But Richard just finished his sandwich, wiped his mouth and said, I'm going out this afternoon. Business meeting. I'll be back by 6. Have dinner ready. I want chicken parmesan. And Grace, don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone. Don't do anything except clean and cook. Clear, clear. He left. The house went silent. Grace stood in the empty kitchen and realized she was completely alone for the first time in a week. No Richard watching her. No Richard criticizing her. No Richard touching her. She could leave. Right now. Walk out that door. Get on a bus. Disappear. But then she thought of Naomi. Of Janet and David. Of the promise she'd made. And she knew she couldn't leave. Couldn't run. Couldn't save herself. So instead Grace did what Richard told her to do. She cleaned. She cooked. She waited for him to come home. And when he finally walked through the door at 6, she served him dinner with a smile plastered on her face. Because that was her job now. That was her life. Smile. Obey. Survive. Richard cut into his chicken parmesan, took a bite and nodded. Finally. You're learning. Grace sat across from him watching him eat the food she'd made and felt the last piece of herself die. The part that still believed she was a person. The part that still had dignity. The part that still hoped. It was gone now. All of it. There was only Richard's voice in her head. Good girl. You're learning. And she was. God help her, she was. 3 months passed. Then 6. Then a year. Grace stopped counting days and started counting bruises instead. The ones that showed up on her arms when Richard grabbed her too hard. The ones on her ribs when he pushed her into the counter. The ones on her soul that nobody could see but felt like they were rotting her from the inside out. She was making breakfast when the phone rang. Richard's phone, not hers. He never let her answer his phone. But he was in the shower and it kept ringing and finally she picked it up. Hello, silence. Then a woman's voice. Is Richard there? He's in the shower. Can I take a message? Tell him Jennifer called. About our appointment this Friday. Grace's stomach twisted. Appointment? Yes. Our usual appointment. He knows which one. The woman hung up. Grace stood there holding the phone, her hands starting to shake. Richard came downstairs, saw her with his phone, and his face went dark. What did I tell you about touching my things? It was ringing. I thought it might be important. Who was it? Grace hesitated. Someone named Jennifer. She said something about an appointment on Friday. Richard snatched the phone from her hand. Looked at the screen. His jaw tightened. That's none of your business. Who is she? I said it's none of your business. Are you seeing someone else? Richard laughed. Actually laughed. Grace, we're not in a real marriage. What I do outside this house doesn't concern you. But we're married. Legally married. On paper. That's all. Did you really think this was some kind of fairy tale that I'd be faithful to you? He put his phone in his pocket. Jennifer is someone I see on Fridays. She has been for 2 years. Long before you. And she'll be here long after you're gone. Grace felt like she'd been slapped. But the contract said you'd be my wife. It didn't say I'd be your husband. There's a difference. He walked past her to the kitchen. Grace followed. So all this time you've been seeing other women? Yes. 3 of them actually. Jennifer on Fridays. Amanda on Tuesdays. And Diane whenever she's in town. Richard poured himself coffee. They're all age appropriate. Professional. And they don't ask questions. Unlike you. Grace couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what she was hearing. Why did you even need to marry me then? Tax purposes. Immigration fraud is very profitable if done correctly. I've married 5 women in the last 15 years. All for green cards. All paid very well. You're just the latest. He sipped his coffee. And honestly, you're the most difficult. Maria was much more compliant. You said Maria violated the contract. She did. She fell in love with someone. Wanted out. I couldn't have that. So I made an example of her. Grace grabbed the counter to steady herself. You're a monster. Richard set down his coffee. Walked over to her. Stood so close she could smell his cologne. I'm a businessman. And you're my property. For the next 9 years. So I suggest you stop asking questions and start doing your job. And if I don't, then I call ICE. Right now. This second. Your sister and those kids will be on a plane by tonight. Is that what you want? Grace's legs gave out. She slid down the counter to the floor. Richard looked down at her. Clean yourself up. You look pathetic. I have a meeting at 10 and I need you to drive me. My car's in the shop. I don't have a license. Then drive carefully. I'll give you directions. He left the kitchen. Grace sat on the floor, her whole body shaking, and realized she'd been a fool. A complete fool. She'd thought this was about marriage. About providing for a family. But it was just business. A transaction. She was inventory. Nothing more. She pulled herself up, washed her face, and drove Richard to his meeting. He spent the entire drive criticizing her driving. Too slow. Too fast. Wrong lane. Wrong turn. By the time they got there, Grace's hands were cramped from gripping the steering wheel too tight. Wait here, Richard said. I'll be an hour. He went inside. Grace sat in the car staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. The hidden one. Elena. How are you? Grace typed back. He has other women. Multiple women. And he told me this is his 5th marriage like this. 5th. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was that many. What happened to the other 4 women? I only knew about Maria. I don't know about the others. Grace's hands were shaking. Elena, I need help. I need to get out. You can't. Not yet. You haven't hit 7 years. If you leave now, he'll report you and your sister both. Then what do? You survive. You document everything. You save money. You plan. And when the time is right, you strike. But Grace, not yet. It's too soon. Grace deleted the messages, turned off the phone, sat there in the parking lot and tried to figure out how she'd become this person. This woman who accepted being called property. Who accepted that her husband was sleeping with other women. Who accepted everything because she had no other choice. Richard came back after 2 hours, not 1. He got in the car without apologizing. Home, he said. Grace drove. Richard made a phone call. Talked to someone about investments. About stocks. About money. So much money. Millions of dollars. And Grace was living on $500 a month allowance. $500 that she had to account for. Every receipt. Every purchase. Richard tracked everything. When they got home, Grace made lunch. Richard ate it without comment. Then he went to his office and Grace cleaned the house. Again. The same rooms. The same furniture. The same everything. Day after day after day. That night Richard came to bed earlier than usual. Grace was already there pretending to read. Put the book down, he said. Grace put it down. I've been thinking. About your sister. About the sponsorship. Grace's heart jumped. Yes, I'm not going to do it. The room tilted. What? I'm not sponsoring them. I've changed my mind. But you promised. That was the whole deal. That was why I married you. Richard started undressing. I promised I'd think about it. I've thought about it. The answer is no. Too complicated. Too risky. And frankly, I don't need to. You're already here. Already trapped. What are you going to do? Leave? Grace felt something break inside her chest. Something that had been barely holding on. You lied to me. I told you what you needed to hear. That's not lying. That's business. You destroyed my life for nothing. I didn't destroy anything. You made a choice. You signed a contract. You married me. That's on you, not me. Grace stood up. I want a divorce. No. I'm leaving. Tonight. Right now. Richard didn't even look concerned. Go ahead. But the second you walk out that door, I call ICE. Your sister, her husband, those kids. All gone. And it'll be your fault. You'll know for the rest of your life that you could have saved them but chose not to. Grace's legs gave out again. She sat back down on the bed. Please. Please, Richard. I'll do anything. Just help them. Just make them legal. That's all I want. Anything. Richard smiled. Those are dangerous words, Grace. I mean it. Whatever you want. I'll do it. What if I told you there's a way? A way to make them legal. But it would cost you. How much? Not money. Something else. Richard sat down next to her. Put his hand on her knee. There's a man I do business with. He's very wealthy. Very powerful. And he has certain tastes. Grace's blood went cold. What kind of tastes? He likes to meet the wives. Have dinner with them. Get to know them. Sometimes more than dinner if they're willing. You want me to sleep with him. I want you to entertain him. What happens after that is between you and him. But if you do this, if you make him happy, he'll make some calls. He has connections. Real connections. Your sister could have papers in 6 months. Grace pulled away. No. Absolutely not. Then Naomi stays illegal. Your choice. That's not a choice. That's blackmail. Call it whatever you want. But the offer stands. His name is Victor Castellano. He's coming to dinner next Saturday. You'll cook. You'll be charming. You'll wear the red dress I bought you. And after dinner, if he wants company, you'll provide it. I won't do it. Richard shrugged. Fine. Then we're done talking about Naomi. Forever. Don't bring it up again. He turned off the light and went to sleep. Grace lay there in the dark, her mind racing, her heart pounding, her whole body screaming at her to run. But she couldn't run. Had nowhere to go. No one to call. Nothing. She got up at 3 in the morning. Went to the bathroom. Locked the door. Called Elena on the hidden phone. Grace, what's wrong? He wants me to sleep with someone else. A business associate. He says if I do it, he'll help Naomi. But Elena, I can't. I can't do this. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Who is it? Who does he want you to meet? Victor Castellano. Oh God. Grace, no. Not him. You know him, everyone knows him. He's dangerous. Really dangerous. He's connected to some very bad people. Criminal people. Richard said he has immigration connections. He probably does. But Grace, the price will be too high. Whatever he asks for, it'll be too high. What should I do? Say no. Tell Richard you won't do it. And start planning your exit. Because this is only going to get worse. Grace hung up, splashed water on her face, looked at herself in the mirror. She'd lost so much weight she barely recognized herself. Her eyes had dark circles. Her cheekbones jutted out. Her hair was falling out in clumps from stress. She went back to bed, lay next to Richard, listened to him snore, and made a decision. She'd do it. She'd meet Victor. She'd do whatever he wanted. Because Naomi and those kids deserved a chance. And if Grace had to sell herself twice instead of once, so be it. What was one more piece of her soul? Saturday came too fast. Grace spent all day cooking. Roast duck, potatoes, vegetables, dessert, everything Richard demanded. She put on the red dress. It was tight, low cut, made her look like exactly what she was. Something for sale. Victor arrived at 7. He was 50, Italian, wearing a suit that probably cost $10,000. He looked at Grace the way men look at cars they're thinking of buying. Richard, Victor said, shaking Richard's hand. You didn't tell me she was this beautiful. I told you you'd be pleased, Richard said. Victor took Grace's hand, kissed it. Grace. What a lovely name. Tell me, do you live up to it? Grace forced a smile. I try. Dinner was torture. Victor sat next to her, his hand occasionally touching her knee under the table. Richard watched from across the table, drinking scotch, looking satisfied. They talked about business, about money, about people Grace didn't know. And occasionally Victor would turn to Grace and ask her questions. Where are you from? Grace, Nigeria. How long have you been here? 15 years. And how long have you been married to Richard? 14 months. Victor smiled. Still newlyweds. How wonderful. You must be very happy. Grace's throat was so tight she could barely speak. Yes. Very happy. After dinner Richard excused himself. I have some calls to make. Grace, why don't you show Victor the library? Grace led Victor to the library. He closed the door behind them. Relax, Victor said. I'm not going to hurt you. I don't understand what you want from me. Richard didn't explain. I'm surprised. He's usually very clear about business arrangements. Victor poured himself a drink from the bar. Here's the situation. Richard owes me money. A lot of money. He invested poorly on my advice and now he needs to make up the deficit. One way he can do that is by offering certain services. Services you. Specifically. I'm having a party in 2 weeks. I need hostesses. Beautiful women who can entertain my guests. Make them feel welcome. Richard suggested you might be interested. Grace's stomach turned over. What kind of entertaining? Whatever the guests want. Conversation. Dancing. Sometimes more. You'd be paid, of course. $2,000 for the night. And in return I'd make some calls about your sister's situation. How do you know about my sister? Richard told me. He tells me everything. That's how this works. I know about Naomi. About Marcus. About Janet and David. I know they're undocumented. I know you're desperate to help them. And I can help. But you have to help me first. Grace felt dizzy. I need to think about it. Of course. You have until Monday to decide. But Grace, Victor set down his drink. If you say no, Richard's debt doesn't disappear. And he'll find another way to pay me back. One way or another this happens. You're just deciding whether you participate willingly or not. He left. Richard came back into the library 30 seconds later. Well, what did he say? Grace couldn't speak. Couldn't form words. Richard grabbed her arm. Grace. What did he say? He wants me to work at his party. As a hostess. And I don't know. I need to think. Richard's grip tightened. There's nothing to think about. You're doing it. I owe him $300,000. $300,000. This is how I'm paying him back. You're selling me. I'm utilizing an asset. There's a difference. And if you refuse, if you embarrass me in front of Victor, I'll make sure Naomi and her family are deported so fast they won't even have time to pack. Grace jerked her arm free. You can't keep threatening me with them forever. Watch me. He walked away. Grace stood in the library, her whole body shaking, and realized there was no bottom to this. No floor. Just an endless fall into darker and darker places. And she had no choice but to keep falling. She went to the bedroom. Locked herself in the bathroom. Called Elena. He wants me to work at a party. As a hostess. But Elena, I think it's more than hosting. I think Victor is running some kind of operation. Something illegal. Grace, listen to me. Do not do this. Whatever Richard is asking, whatever Victor is offering, it's not worth it. These men are dangerous. If you get involved with them, you might never get out. But Naomi will survive. She's strong. But you won't survive this. I'm serious, Grace. This is the line. Don't cross it. Grace hung up. Sat on the bathroom floor. Tried to think of a way out. Any way out. But every path led to the same place. Loss. Pain. Destruction. There was no good choice. Only degrees of bad. She came out of the bathroom. Richard was in bed reading. I'll do it, Grace said. Richard looked up. Smart girl. But I have conditions. You don't get to make conditions. Yes, I do. If I'm doing this, if I'm going to Victor's party and doing God knows what, then you give me something in return. Richard closed his book. I'm listening. You start the sponsorship paperwork for Naomi. Right away. Not in 6 months. Not eventually. Now. And you give me proof. Show me the paperwork. Show me that you actually filed it. Because I don't trust you anymore, Richard. You've lied too many times. Richard considered this. Fine. I'll file the paperwork. But Grace understands something. If you don't perform at Victor's party, if you embarrass me, if you make him unhappy in any way, I withdraw the sponsorship. And I make sure Naomi knows it was your fault. That you had a chance to save her and you blew it. Are we clear? Clear. Good. The party is 2 weeks from Saturday. Victor will send over clothes for you to wear. And Grace, don't tell Naomi about this. Don't tell anyone. What happens at that party stays at that party. Forever. Grace nodded, climbed into bed, lay there staring at the ceiling and wondered how much more of herself she could lose before there was nothing left. 2 days later, Richard showed her the paperwork. Form I-130. Petition for alien relative. Filed with Immigration Services. Naomi's name. Marcus's name. Janet and David's names. All there. Official. Real. See, Richard said. I keep my promises. When I want to. Grace held the papers with shaking hands. How long until they're approved? Could be 6 months. Could be 2 years. Depends on how backed up the system is. But it's filed. That's what you wanted, right? Yes. Then we're done. Now go make dinner. I'm starving. Grace made dinner. Served Richard. Cleaned up. Went upstairs. Lay in bed. And for the first time in 14 months she let herself feel something other than numbness. She felt hope. Tiny. Fragile. Barely there. But real. Naomi and the kids had a chance now. A real chance. And if Grace had to destroy herself completely to give them that chance, she'd do it. Because that's what love was. Not the kind in movies. Not flowers and romance and happy endings. But the kind that hurt. The kind that cost everything. The kind that left you hollow and broken but still standing because someone else needed you to stand. Grace closed her eyes and tried to imagine a future where this was all over. Where Naomi was safe. Where Janet and David could go to school without fear. Where Marcus could work legally and provide for his family. Where Grace could finally rest. But she couldn't imagine it. Couldn't see it. All she could see was 2 weeks from now. Victor's party. Whatever that meant. Whatever price she'd have to pay. She opened the hidden phone. Sent Elena one last message. If something happens to me, tell Naomi I love her. Tell her I did this for them. And tell her not to cry. I chose this. Nobody forced me. I chose them over me. And I'd do it again. Elena wrote back immediately. Grace, you're scaring me. What's happening? In 2 weeks Grace deleted the messages. Turned off the phone. And tried to sleep. But sleep wouldn't come. Just the sound of Richard breathing next to her. Just the knowledge that in 14 days she'd cross a line she'd never be able to uncross. Just the understanding that sometimes love meant sacrifice. And sometimes sacrifice meant death. Not physical death. But the death of who you used to be. Grace wasn't sure that person existed anymore anyway. The dress arrived 3 days before the party. Black. Satin. So short it barely covered anything. Grace held it up and felt her stomach turn. Richard came into the bedroom. Try it on. Victor wants photos. Photos for his guests. So they know what to expect. Grace's hands started shaking. Richard, what kind of party is this? The kind where you smile and do what you're told. Now put on the dress. Grace changed in the bathroom. The dress clung to every curve. Made her look like exactly what she was being sold as. She came out and Richard immediately took out his phone. Stand there. Smile. I can't. Smile or I call immigration right now. Grace forced her lips into something resembling a smile. Richard took 5 photos. Sent them to someone. His phone dinged 30 seconds later. Victor approves. He says you'll do nicely. Richard pocketed his phone. The party starts at 9 p.m. Saturday. A car will pick you up at 8. You'll be there until everyone leaves. Could be 3 hours. Could be all night. Depends on the guests. What am I supposed to do there? Whatever they ask. Within reason. Victor will give you boundaries when you arrive. But Grace, Richard grabbed her chin, forced her to look at him. If you embarrass me, if you refuse a guest, if you cause any problems, the deal is off. And I'll make sure everyone knows why Naomi got deported. He released her and left. Grace ripped off the dress, threw it across the room and collapsed on the bed. She couldn't do this. Couldn't go through with it. But the sponsorship papers were already filed. Naomi's name was in the system. Grace had proof. Real proof. If she backed out now, Richard would destroy everything. She called Elena. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Sent a text, I need help. 3 hours later Elena finally called back. Sorry, I was at work. What's wrong? The party is Saturday. I have to go. But Elena, I don't think I can do this. I think I'm going to break. Then don't go. I have to. The papers are filed. This is the last thing. After this Naomi is safe. I just have to survive one night. Grace listened to me very carefully. I know women who've worked Victor's parties. It's not just hosting. It's not just serving drinks. These men expect things. Specific things. And if you say no, there are consequences. What kind of consequences? Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. 2 years ago a girl refused. She said no to one of Victor's friends. They found her in the Hudson River 3 weeks later. Grace couldn't breathe. What? I'm serious. These aren't normal men. They're connected. Powerful. Dangerous. If you go to that party you might not come back. But Richard said Richard doesn't care if you die. He'll just find another woman to marry. Another green card to sell. You're replaceable to him. Grace hung up. Stared at the dress crumpled on the floor. Tried to think of a way out. But every option led back to the same place. If she ran, Naomi got deported. If she stayed and refused, Naomi got deported. If she went to the party and something bad happened, at least Naomi would be safe. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. Saturday came. Grace spent the day in a daze. Made breakfast. Cleaned. Pretended everything was normal. Richard left at noon for a golf game. Came back at 6. The car will be here in 2 hours. Get ready. Do your makeup heavy. Wear the shoes Victor sent. The shoes were 6-inch heels. Impossible to walk in. Grace put them on anyway. Did her makeup the way Richard demanded. Thick eyeliner. Red lips. Hair down. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. At 8 p.m. a black car pulled up. The driver didn't speak. Just opened the door. Grace got in. Richard watched from the doorway. Remember, he called out. Make me proud. The car drove for 40 minutes. Out of Connecticut. Into New York. To a building in Manhattan that looked like a normal office building from the outside. The driver pulled into an underground garage. Stopped at a private elevator. 4th floor, he said. His first words the entire drive. Grace got out. Took the elevator up. The doors opened to a massive apartment. Music playing. Men in expensive suits. Women in dresses like Grace's. Young women. Terrified women. Women who looked like they'd made the same deal Grace had. Victor appeared immediately. Grace. You came. I'm so pleased. He took her hand. Led her into the apartment. Let me explain the rules. You serve drinks. You talk to guests. You make them comfortable. If they ask you to sit with them, you sit. If they ask you to dance, you dance. If they ask you to go to a private room, you smile and say yes. Understood. Grace's throat was too tight to speak. She nodded. Good. The bar is over there. Start with drinks. We'll see how the night goes. He walked away. Grace stood there frozen until another woman grabbed her arm. She was maybe 25. Latina. Pretty. Scared. First time the woman asked. Yes. Stay near me. Do what I do. Don't make eye contact unless they speak to you first. Don't refuse anything. And if someone takes you to a private room, don't fight. It's easier if you don't fight. Grace felt like she might throw up. I can't do this. Yes, you can. Because the alternative is worse. Trust me. I know. The woman pulled Grace to the bar. Showed her how to carry the tray. How to approach the men without seeming threatening. How to smile even when you wanted to scream. Grace served drinks for an hour. Men touched her as she passed. Grabbed her waist. Made comments. She kept smiling. Kept serving. Kept dying inside. Then a man called her over. 50s. Expensive watch. Cold eyes. Sit with me. Grace sat. He put his hand on her thigh. What's your name, Grace? Pretty name. How long have you been working for Victor? This is my first night. A virgin. I like that. His hand moved higher. Tell me, Grace. What are you willing to do to keep your family safe? Grace froze. What Richard told us all about you. About your sister. About the kids. About how desperate you are. That's what makes you so appealing. Desperate women are the most cooperative. Grace stood up. I need to use the bathroom. Sit down. I really need to. His grip tightened on her arm. I said sit down. Grace sat. The man leaned close, his breath hot on her neck. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to finish this drink with me. Then we're going to go to one of the private rooms. And you're going to show me exactly how grateful you are for Victor's help. Understood. Grace nodded because what else could she do? The man handed her a glass. Drink. What is it? Does it matter? Grace took the glass. Stared at the liquid inside. Dark. Probably drugged. Definitely drugged. If she drank it, she'd lose control. Lose awareness. Lose everything. She set it down. I'm sorry. I can't. The man's expression changed. Went from predatory to angry in seconds. Excuse me, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I made a mistake coming here. She stood up. Started walking toward the elevator. The man grabbed her from behind. You don't get to say no. That's not how this works. Grace jerked free. Let go of me. Victor, the man called out. We have a problem. Victor appeared instantly. Looked at Grace. Looked at the man. His jaw tightened. Grace, what's wrong? I want to leave. Now. We had an agreement. I don't care. This isn't what Richard said. This isn't hosting. This is. Grace couldn't say the word. I want to leave. Victor grabbed her arm. Pulled her into a hallway away from the party. Slammed her against the wall. You embarrassed me in front of my guests. Do you have any idea what that costs me? I don't care. Let me go or I'll scream. Scream and I'll make sure your sister never sees daylight again. I'll have her picked up tonight. Her kids too. And I'll make sure it's violent. Traumatic. Something they'll never forget. Grace's knees buckled. Please. You signed up for this. You knew what this was. No, I didn't. Richard lied. He said hosting. He said serving drinks. And you believed him. How stupid are you? Victor released her. Here's what's going to happen. You're going back out there. You're apologizing to my guest. And you're going to that private room with him. Or I make one phone call and your sister's life ends tonight. Grace slid down the wall. Started crying. Couldn't stop. Victor crouched down beside her. This isn't personal, Grace. This is business. You're a commodity. An asset. And I need you to perform. So pull yourself together, fix your makeup and get back out there. He stood up. Walked away. Left Grace crumpled on the floor in a hallway, wearing a dress that wasn't hers, living a life that wasn't hers, being someone she'd never wanted to be. The young Latina woman from earlier appeared. Helped Grace up. Come on. Bathroom. Now. She pulled Grace into a bathroom. Locked the door. Grabbed Grace's face. Listen to me. You have two choices. You go back out there and do what they want. Or you fight. But if you fight, you have to be smart about it. You can't just say no. You have to have a plan. I don't have a plan. I have nothing. Then make one. Fast. Because you have about 5 minutes before Victor comes looking for you. Grace's mind was racing. She couldn't go back out there. Couldn't let that man touch her. But if she refused, Naomi would suffer. The kids would suffer. Everything she'd sacrificed would be for nothing. Unless she found proof. Proof of what Richard was doing. Proof of the fraud. Proof of Victor's operation. Proof that she could use as leverage. "Do you have your phone?" Grace asked the woman. "No. They took them when we came in." "Security measure. Damn it. But there are cameras. Security cameras everywhere. In the main room. In the hallways. Not in the private rooms but everywhere else." Grace's mind clicked. Who controls the camera's security office? Down the hall. But you can't get in there. It's locked. Keypad. What's the code? I don't know. Nobody knows except Victor's guys. Grace thought fast. How long have you been working these parties? 2 years. Have you seen the security guys punch in the code? The woman hesitated. Maybe. Once. I wasn't paying attention, but she closed her eyes. 4 digits. I think it was 197 something. Maybe 1973. Or 1975. I'm not sure. That's enough. Thank you. What are you planning? I don't know yet. But I need proof. Of all of this. The parties. The women. The drugs. Everything. And if I can get it, I can use it. Against Victor? Are you insane? He'll kill you. He might. But at least I'll die fighting instead of lying down. Grace fixed her makeup. Took a deep breath. Opened the bathroom door. Victor was standing right outside. "Time's up," he said. "Are you ready to behave?" "Yes." "I'm sorry. I panicked." "It won't happen again." Victor studied her face. "Good. Because that man in there is very important. Very powerful. And he wants you. So go make him happy." Grace walked back to the main room. The man was still there, still waiting. He smiled when he saw her. "Changed your mind?" "I'm sorry. I just needed a moment." "Come here." Grace walked over. Sat down. Let him put his hand on her thigh again. But while he talked, while he touched her, Grace was counting. Counting how many men were in the room. How many women. Where the exits were. Where the security cameras were pointing. Making a mental map. The man handed her another drink. "This time drink it." Grace took the glass. Pretended to sip. Let some liquid touch her lips but didn't swallow. The man watched her waiting. After a minute he seemed satisfied. "Good girl. Now let's go somewhere more private." He stood up. Pulled Grace up with him. Started leading her toward the hallway where the private rooms were. Grace's heart was pounding. This was it. The moment. She either went with him or she made her move. They passed the security office. The door was closed but Grace could see light underneath. Someone was in there. The man kept walking. Grace pretended to stumble in her heels. "Sorry. These shoes are impossible." "Take them off then." "Can I sit down for just a second? I'm dizzy." From the drink. The man sighed. Annoyed but willing to wait. "Fine. 1 minute." Grace sat on a bench outside the security office. The man stood over her checking his phone. Grace counted to 30. Then stood up fast, pushed the man hard. He stumbled backward. Not hard enough to fall. Just hard enough to make him angry. "What the hell? I'm sorry, I lost my balance." The man grabbed her. Shook her. Started yelling. And that's when the security office door opened. A guard stepped out. "What's going on? This bitch pushed me." "I didn't. I swear I just lost my balance." The guard looked between them. "Sir, maybe you should go back to the party. Cool off. We'll handle her." The man glared at Grace. "Victor's going to hear about this." He stormed off. The guard turned to Grace. "You okay?" "I'm fine. I'm sorry. I really did just lose my balance." "Yeah, sure." The guard was young. Maybe 25. Looked bored. "Just be more careful. The guests here aren't patient." He started to go back into the security office. Grace spoke fast. "Can I use your bathroom? The one out there is occupied and I really need to go." The guard hesitated. "We're not supposed to let party workers back here. Please. I'll be 30 seconds. I just need to use the bathroom and I'll be gone." The guard sighed. "Fine. Through there. But make it quick." Grace walked into the security office. Saw the monitors immediately. 12 screens showing different angles of the party. The main room. The hallways. The elevator. The entrance. Everything recorded. Everything saved. The bathroom was in the back. Grace went in. Locked the door. Looked around for anything she could use. Found nothing. Came back out. The guard was at his desk watching the monitors. Grace walked past slowly, pretending to adjust her dress. Glanced at the screens. Saw the man from earlier talking to Victor. Saw them pointing toward the security office. Saw Victor's face go dark with rage. "They're coming," Grace whispered. The guard looked up. "What Victor?" "He's coming here. Right now." "How do you know?" Grace pointed at the monitor. "Look." The guard saw it. Saw Victor and 3 other men heading toward the security office. "Damn it. You need to leave. Now." "Not without proof." "Proof of what?" "Of this. All of this. The parties. The women. Everything." Grace moved closer. "How long have you been watching Victor run this operation?" "1 year. 2. How many women have you seen come through here? How many do you think made it out okay?" The guard's jaw tightened. "That's not my business." "Then whose business is it?" "Victor's." "The men out there, or maybe yours because you're the one recording everything. You're the one watching. You're the one who could actually do something." "I'm just doing my job." "Then your job is helping men hurt women. Congratulations." The guard stared at her. For a moment Grace thought she'd pushed too far. Then he pulled out a thumb drive from his desk drawer. "This has the last 3 months of footage. Everything. Every party. Every guest. Every woman. I was saving it for insurance. In case Victor ever turned on me." He held it out. "Take it. But if they catch you with it, I'll deny everything. You stole it. You broke in. I never gave it to you." Grace grabbed the drive. Shoved it down her dress. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just get out of here. Through the back exit. Down the stairs. It leads to the garage. Find a cab. Disappear." Grace ran. Hit the back stairwell just as Victor burst through the front door of the security office. She heard him yelling. Heard the guard saying something about Grace running off. Heard footsteps behind her. Grace kicked off her heels and ran barefoot down 4 flights of stairs. Hit the garage level. Saw a service exit. Pushed through it. Found herself on a street in Manhattan. No phone. No shoes. No idea where she was. A cab turned the corner. Grace flagged it down desperately. "Please. I need to get out of here. Now." The driver looked at her through the window. Young guy. Pakistani maybe. He saw her bare feet. Her terrified face. The dress that marked her as exactly what she was. "Get in." Grace collapsed into the backseat. "Connecticut. I need to get to Connecticut." "That's 2 hours. It'll cost you." "I don't have any money." "But please. I'll pay you when we get there. I promise." The driver looked at her in the rearview mirror. "You running from someone bad?" "Yes." "They hurt you?" "Not yet. But they will if they catch me." The driver nodded. "Put the car in drive. Connecticut it is. You can pay me later." Grace started crying. Relief. Terror. Exhaustion. Everything hitting at once. The driver handed her a box of tissues. "What's your name?" he asked. "Grace." "I'm Ahmed. Nice to meet you, Grace. Now tell me where in Connecticut we're going." Grace gave him Richard's address. Ahmed drove fast. They made it in 90 minutes. When they pulled up to the house, all the lights were off. "You live here?" Ahmed asked, looking at the mansion. "Sort of. It's complicated." Grace got out. "Wait here. I'll get your money." She ran to the front door. Locked. She pounded on it. No answer. Richard wasn't home. Of course he wasn't home. He was probably with Jennifer or Amanda or Diane. Out enjoying himself while Grace had nearly been drugged and assaulted. Grace went around back. Found a window she'd left unlocked weeks ago in case of emergency. Climbed through. Grabbed her hidden phone from its hiding place. Found $300 cash she'd been saving in secret. Went back outside. Handed Ahmed the money. "Thank you. You saved my life tonight." Ahmed waved it away. "Keep 100. You look like you need it more than me." "I can't, I'm serious." "Take it. And Grace, whatever you're running from, run faster." He drove away. Grace stood in the driveway barefoot and shaking, clutching a thumb drive that held evidence of everything. Of Richard's fraud. Of Victor's operation. Of the entire network. She had power now. Real power. The question was what to do with it. Grace went back inside. Turned on her hidden phone. Called Elena. "Grace, oh my God, where are you? Are you okay? I'm at Richard's house." "And Elena, I have evidence. Video evidence. Of everything. Victor's parties. The women. All of it." "How did you get that?" "I'll explain later. But I need help. I need a lawyer. Someone who specializes in immigration fraud. Someone who can use this evidence to destroy Richard and Victor both. I know someone. Her name is Patricia Chen. She's tough. Really tough. And she hates men like Richard. I'll call her first thing Monday. Thank you. Grace hung up. Sat on the kitchen floor. Held the thumb drive in her hand. This tiny piece of plastic held everything. Her freedom. Naomi's safety. Richard's destruction. Victor's downfall. She'd gone to that party thinking she'd lose everything. Instead, she'd found the one thing she needed most. A way to fight back. Grace hid the thumb drive inside a box of tampons under the bathroom sink. The one place Richard would never look. Then she washed her face, changed into pajamas and waited. Richard came home at 4 a.m. Drunk. Stumbling. He found Grace sitting at the kitchen table. "What are you doing up?" he slurred. "Waiting for you." How was the party? Grace looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd bought her. Sold her. Nearly destroyed her. "I left early." Richard's expression changed. Sobered instantly. "What? I left. I ran. I'm not doing that again. Ever." Richard grabbed the table for balance. "You stupid woman. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I know exactly what I've done. Victor called me. Said you embarrassed him. Said you refused a guest. Said you ran out like some kind of lunatic." Richard's face was red. "That deal is dead. Your sister's sponsorship dead. Everything I promised gone. Because you couldn't do one simple thing. It wasn't simple. It was prostitution. You were selling me to those men. I was utilizing an asset. I'm not an asset. I'm a person." Richard lunged at her. Grabbed her throat. Slammed her against the wall. "You are what I say you are. You are mine. My property. My investment. And you just cost me $300,000. Grace couldn't breathe. Richard's hands tightened. Her vision started going dark. Then he released her. Let her drop to the floor gasping. "I should kill you," Richard said. "Save myself the trouble." Grace looked up at him from the floor. "Do it then. Kill me. Because I'm done. I'm not cooking for you. I'm not cleaning for you. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm done." Richard kicked her in the ribs. Grace screamed. He kicked her again. "You don't get to be done. Not until I say so." He walked away. Grace heard him go upstairs. Heard the bedroom door slam. She lay on the kitchen floor for 20 minutes before she could move. When she finally pulled herself up, her entire side was on fire. She went to the bathroom. Lifted her shirt. Already bruising. Dark purple spreading across her ribs. She took a photo with her hidden phone. Evidence. She was collecting evidence now. Grace didn't sleep that night. Just lay on the couch, every breath painful, planning her next move. At 8 a.m. she called Elena. "Can you get me that lawyer's number?" "Patricia Chen." "Yes. But Grace, are you okay? You sound terrible." "Richard found out I left the party. He's angry." "Did he hurt you?" "Yes." "Grace, you need to leave. Right now. Come stay with me." "I can't. Not yet. I need to talk to this lawyer first. I need to know what my options are." Elena gave her Patricia's number. Grace called immediately. A woman answered on the second ring. "Patricia Chen. My name is Grace Okafor. Elena Rodriguez gave me your number. I need help. I'm in a fraudulent marriage and I have evidence. Video evidence of the man who arranged it." Silence. "Then how much evidence?" 3 months worth. Multiple parties. Multiple women. Everything. "Can you come to my office today?" "Yes." "Where are you?" Patricia gave her an address in Manhattan. 2 p.m. "Don't be late. And Grace, don't tell anyone you're coming. Especially not your husband." Grace hung up. Went upstairs to get dressed. Richard was still asleep. Grace grabbed clothes, her hidden phone, the thumb drive from the bathroom. Left the house without making a sound. She took 3 buses to get to Manhattan. Got there at 1:30. Waited in a coffee shop across from Patricia's building until exactly 2 p.m. Then went up. Patricia Chen was 50, Chinese American with sharp eyes and a sharper suit. She took one look at Grace and said, "Sit down before you fall down." Grace sat. "I have the evidence." "Show me." Grace handed over the thumb drive. Patricia plugged it into her computer. Started watching the footage. Her expression didn't change, but her jaw tightened. After 10 minutes she stopped the video. "This is Victor Castellano's operation. You know him. Everyone in immigration law knows him. He's been running this for years. fraudulent marriages, trafficking, extortion. But nobody's ever been able to prove it. Until now. Patricia leaned back. Grace, this evidence is gold. With this we can destroy him. And Richard. Both of them. What about my sister? She's in the middle of a sponsorship application that Richard filed. If we go after him, does that hurt her case? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Honestly, yes. Her application will be flagged. Investigated. It could be denied based on the fraud. Grace's heart sank. So I can't use this. Because if I do, I destroy the one thing I sacrificed everything for. Not necessarily. There's another way. Patricia opened a file drawer. The U visa. It's for victims of crimes who cooperate with law enforcement. If you testify against Richard and Victor, if you help take down their operation, you can get a U visa. And once you have that, you can petition for your sister. Legally. Properly. No fraud involved. How long does that take? The U visa could be a year. Maybe less if we push it. Your sister's petition after that another year and a half. That's 2.5 years. Richard said her application could be approved in 6 months. Richard lied about everything else. Why would you believe him about this? Grace closed her eyes. Patricia was right. What do I do? You testify. You give us everything. Names. Dates. Details. We build a case against Richard and Victor. Then we go to the FBI. Immigration fraud. Sex trafficking. Money laundering. We throw everything at them. And then what happens to me? You divorce Richard. The marriage is fraudulent, so it's null. You apply for the U visa. You start over. And if Richard finds out I'm testifying before the FBI arrests him, Patricia's expression was grim. Then you need to be somewhere he can't find you. Do you have a safe place to go? Grace thought about Naomi. About the apartment they all shared. Maybe. But I can't put my family at risk. Then we move fast. We get your testimony on record today. We hand everything over to the FBI tomorrow. They move on arrests within 72 hours. Richard won't have time to retaliate. Grace nodded. Okay. Let's do it. They spent 4 hours going through everything. Patricia recorded Grace's testimony. Every detail. Every conversation with Richard. Every moment at Victor's party. The contract. The abuse. The threats. Everything. By 6 p.m. Grace was exhausted. Patricia printed out documents for her to sign. These are affidavits. They make your testimony official. Sign here. And here. And here. Grace signed. Patricia collected everything, put it in a folder. I'm meeting with the FBI agent tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. By tomorrow afternoon they'll have warrants. Grace, where will you be? I don't know. Figure it out. Fast. Because once Richard finds out you've turned on him, he'll come for you. And he won't be gentle. Grace left Patricia's office at 7 p.m. Called Elena. Can I stay with you tonight? Of course. Are you okay? I testified. Against Richard and Victor. The FBI is moving tomorrow. Elena sucked in a breath. Grace, that's huge. That's amazing. But you need to disappear. Like right now. I know. I'm coming to you. Can you pick me up? I don't have money for a cab. Elena picked her up in Queens. Drove her to a small apartment in Brooklyn. Grace had never been there before. It's not much, Elena said. But it's safe. Nobody knows about this place except me. Grace collapsed on Elena's couch. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're not out of the woods. Richard is going to lose his mind when he realizes you're gone. As if on cue, Grace's phone rang. The real one. Richard. Grace stared at the screen. Elena grabbed her hand. Don't answer it. I have to. If I don't, he'll know something's wrong. Grace answered. Put it on speaker. Where are you? Richard's voice was deadly calm. I went shopping. I needed air. Shopping. For 6 hours. I was walking. Thinking. Thinking about what? About everything. About us. About whether this is worth it. Richard laughed. No humor in it. You don't get to decide if it's worth it. You're mine for 9 more years. So get home. Now. What if I don't? Then I call ICE. Right now. Your sister. Those kids. Gone by morning. Grace's hands were shaking. Elena was shaking her head frantically. Mouthing, don't go back. I'll be home soon, Grace said. You have 1 hour. After that I start making calls. He hung up. Grace looked at Elena. I have to go back. No, you don't. Let him call ICE. Once he's arrested, he can't do anything. But the arrest won't happen until tomorrow at the earliest. If he calls tonight, Naomi and the kids are gone before anyone can stop him. Then we get them out. Right now. We go get them and bring them here. Grace stood up. Where does Naomi think I am? She thinks you're still with Richard. You haven't talked to her in over a year. Then she won't come with me. She'll think I'm lying. So we tell her the truth. We tell her everything. Grace, you can't go back to that house. Richard will kill you. Grace grabbed her jacket. Then I'll die. But at least Naomi will be safe. Elena blocked the door. I'm not letting you do this. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Because I'm calling Naomi right now. And I'm telling her everything. And she's going to come here. And then we're all disappearing until the FBI handles this. Elena pulled out her phone. Started dialing. Grace tried to stop her, but Elena was faster. Naomi, this is Elena Rodriguez. You don't know me, but I'm a friend of Grace's. Listen carefully. Grace is in danger. Serious danger. And so are you. I need you to pack a bag right now. Just essentials. Grab the kids. Don't tell Marcus where you're going. And meet me at this address. She rattled off the Brooklyn address. Grace could hear Naomi shouting through the phone. Who are you? Where's Grace? What's happening? Grace is here with me. She's safe. But she won't be if Richard finds her. And neither will you. Naomi, I know you don't know me. I know this sounds insane. But I need you to trust me. Your sister's life depends on it. Silence. Then put Grace on the phone. Elena handed the phone to Grace. Naomi, Grace. Oh my God. Grace, what is happening? I can't explain right now. But Elena's right. You need to get out. Bring the kids. Come to this address. I'll explain everything when you get here. Where have you been? I haven't heard from you in 14 months. I thought you were dead. I know. I'm sorry. But I'm alive. And I'm trying to keep you alive too. Please, Naomi. Trust me. Where's Richard? Does he know you're calling me number? And he can't know. If he finds out, he'll hurt all of us. Naomi, please. I'm begging you. Pack a bag. Get the kids. Come now. Another silence. Then give me 30 minutes. Grace hung up. Looked at Elena. Thank you. Don't thank me. We're not safe yet. Richard's going to figure out you're not coming home. And when he does, he's going to start looking. Then we need to move faster. Grace's phone rang again. Richard. She didn't answer. He called 3 more times. Then stopped. That's when Grace knew. He was coming for her. We need to leave, Grace said. Right now. Before Naomi gets here. And go somewhere public. Somewhere with cameras and witnesses. Somewhere Richard can't make a scene. Elena grabbed her keys. I know a place. 24-hour diner near the precinct. Cops eat there all the time. If Richard shows up, we scream for help. They left the apartment. Drove to the diner. Waited. Grace called Naomi from Elena's phone. Change of plans. Don't go to the Brooklyn address. Come to Jerry's Diner on Atlantic Avenue. We'll be inside. Grace, you're scaring me. I know. I'm scared too. Just get here. Please. 40 minutes later, Naomi arrived. Marcus was with her. So were the kids. Janet was 17 now. David was 15. They'd grown so much. Grace barely recognized them. Naomi saw Grace and burst into tears. Ran to her. Grabbed her. You're alive. You're actually alive. Grace held her sister and couldn't speak. Just cried. They cried together for 5 minutes straight. Finally, Naomi pulled back. What happened to you? Where have you been? Why did you disappear? Grace took a breath. I got married. To a man named Richard. A citizen. I thought he would help you. Help all of you. Get you papers. But it was a lie. All of it was a lie. What do you mean? He runs a fraud operation. Fake marriages for green cards. I was just another victim. Another woman he bought and sold. Naomi's face went white. No. Grace, no. He abused me. Controlled me. Threatened to deport you every time I tried to leave. For 14 months I lived in hell. But yesterday I found evidence. Video evidence of everything. And I gave it to a lawyer. And tomorrow the FBI is arresting him. Marcus leaned forward. So you're saying we're in danger because of this, Richard? Yes. If he finds out I testified, he'll retaliate. Against me. Against all of you. That's why you needed to leave the apartment. But we can't just disappear. I have work, the kids have school. Grace stared at him. Marcus, you're undocumented. The kids aren't enrolled in school. Yes, they are. We got them in 6 months ago. Fake paperwork. They're students. Grace looked at Naomi. You didn't tell me. Because you vanished, you blocked my number, you disappeared, and I had no way to reach you. I had to. Richard was monitoring everything. If he knew I was still in contact with you, he would have. Grace stopped. Wait. You said 6 months ago. How did you afford fake paperwork? Naomi and Marcus exchanged a look. We had help. From who? From Richard. Grace's world tilted. What? Richard contacted us 8 months ago. Said you were busy, but you'd asked him to help us. He paid for the paperwork. Got the kids enrolled. Even helped Marcus get a job. A real job with real pay. Grace couldn't breathe. That's not possible. Why not? Because Richard hates you. He used you to control me. He wouldn't help you. Unless Grace's mind was racing. Unless he was setting you up. Unless he was building a case to destroy you if I ever stepped out of line. Elena grabbed Grace's arm. If he helped them with fake documents, he has proof. He can report them for fraud anytime he wants. Grace looked at her sister. At Marcus. At the kids. What did you sign when Richard helped you? Marcus pulled papers from his bag. Just some forms. For the school. For the job. Standard stuff. Grace grabbed the papers. Started reading. Her hands started shaking. These aren't standard. These are confessions. Admissions of fraud. You signed documents admitting you used fake paperwork. You gave Richard everything he needs to put you in prison. Naomi's face went white. What? He set you up. All of you. He's been holding this over my head for 8 months and I didn't even know it. The diner door opened. Grace looked up. Her heart stopped. Richard walked in. Alone. Calm. He saw them sitting there and smiled. Hello, Grace. Naomi. Marcus. Kids. What a lovely family reunion. Grace stood up. Stay away from us. I'm just here to talk. No need to make a scene. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. I'm not breaking any laws. But your sister is. And her husband. And technically those kids are accessories to fraud. So please call the police. I'd love to explain to them exactly what Marcus signed. Marcus stood up. You said you were helping us. I was. I helped Grace marry a citizen. I helped you get jobs and school. I'm a very helpful person. It's not my fault if people use my help to break the law. Elena was on her phone. Grace could see her texting someone. Hopefully Patricia. Hopefully the FBI. What do you want, Richard? Grace asked. I want you to come home. With me. Right now. And I want you to call that lawyer of yours and tell her you made a mistake. That you lied. That there's no evidence. No fraud. Nothing. I'm not doing that. Then Naomi goes to jail. Tonight. I'll call immigration. I'll hand over all those signed documents. I'll testify myself. She'll be deported before sunrise. Naomi grabbed Grace's hand. Grace, don't. Don't sacrifice yourself for me again. I have to. No. You don't. Naomi stood up. Faced Richard. I'll go. I'll turn myself in. Just leave Grace alone. Richard laughed. Noble. But useless. Because Grace is my wife. She's mine. And I'm not letting her go until I'm done with her. David stood up. 15 years old. Tall. Angry. Don't talk to my mom like that. Sit down, kid. This doesn't concern you. Yes, it does. You hurt my aunt. You threatened my family. That concerns me. Richard's expression changed. Got darker. Careful, boy. You're not a citizen. I can have you on a plane tonight. Marcus grabbed David's arm. Pulled him back. Don't. He's not worth it. Grace saw movement outside the diner window. 2 cars pulling up. Federal vehicles. Patricia must have called them. The cavalry was coming. Richard, Grace said. You need to leave. Right now. I'm not going anywhere without you. Yes, you are. Because in about 30 seconds the FBI is going to walk through that door and arrest you. Richard's face went pale. What? I testified. This morning. I gave them everything. The thumb drive. The videos. All of it. And they're coming for you. Richard lunged at Grace. Grabbed her throat. You bitch! Marcus tackled him. They went down hard. The whole diner erupted. People screaming. Janet and David backing away. Naomi grabbing Grace. Elena yelling. The door burst open. FBI agents. 4 of them. Guns drawn. FBI nobody move. Marcus got off Richard. Backed away with his hands up. Richard tried to stand. An agent pushed him back down. Cuffed him. Richard Holloway, you're under arrest for immigration fraud, conspiracy and human trafficking. Richard looked at Grace. Pure hatred in his eyes. This isn't over. Yes it is, Grace said. You're done. They dragged him out. Grace collapsed into the booth. Naomi wrapped her arms around her. Elena sat down next to them. Patricia Chen walked in seconds later. Is everyone okay? Grace nodded. Are we safe now? You're safe. Richard's in custody. Victor will be arrested within the hour. It's over, Grace. You're free. Grace started crying. Not sad tears. Not scared tears. Relief. Pure relief. Naomi held her tighter. The kids crowded around. Marcus stood guard. Elena got them all coffee. They stayed in that diner for 3 more hours while the FBI took statements. While Patricia explained the U-visa process. While the reality of what had just happened slowly sank in. Grace was free. Actually free. No Richard. No contract. No ownership. Just Grace. Herself again. As they were leaving, Patricia pulled Grace aside. You did something incredibly brave today. You stood up to men who've destroyed countless women. You saved yourself. And you saved your sister. That takes real strength. Grace shook her head. I didn't feel strong. I felt terrified. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right despite the fear. You did that. Be proud. Grace nodded. Couldn't speak. Too overwhelmed. They all went back to Elena's apartment. Squeezed into the tiny space. Made plans. Naomi's case would be reviewed. The fake documents Richard provided would be flagged but not held against them since they were victims of fraud. Grace's U-visa would take time, but it would come through. And in 2 years, maybe less, Naomi and her family would be legal. That night Grace slept on Elena's couch with Naomi next to her. Janet and David on the floor. Marcus in the chair. All of them together. All of them safe. All of them free. 3 months later Richard's trial started. Grace testified. Told everything. The courtroom was packed. Other women came forward. Maria was there. Lucia was there. 3 other women Grace had never met. All of Richard's victims. All telling their stories. Richard was convicted on 15 counts. Sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. Victor got 35 years. Their entire operation was dismantled. 40 women were freed. 40 families were saved. Grace's U-visa was approved 8 months after her testimony. She got her work permit. Started working as a home health aide. Not a nurse yet, but closer. She was taking classes. Studying. Rebuilding. Naomi's family got temporary protected status. Then green cards. Then 5 years after that nightmare started citizenship. All of them. Legal. Safe. Free. Grace never remarried. Couldn't even think about it. The damage ran too deep. But she volunteered at a women's shelter. Helped other immigrant women. Told her story. Used her voice. On the 10-year anniversary of the day she signed that contract in Richard's lawyer's office, Grace went back to that diner on Atlantic Avenue. Sat in the same booth. Ordered coffee. And thought about everything that had happened. Everything she'd lost. Everything she'd survived. Everything she'd won. A young woman came in. Mid-20s. Latina. Scared. She sat at the counter alone, crying silently into her hands. Grace recognized that cry. Had cried it herself. She walked over. Are you okay? The woman looked up. I'm fine. No, you're not. And that's okay. My name is Grace. What's yours? Carmen. Carmen, I don't know what you're going through. But I know that look. I've had that look. And I'm here to tell you that whatever you're facing, whatever impossible choice you think you have to make, there are other options. Better options. You just have to be brave enough to ask for help. Carmen's eyes filled with fresh tears. I can't. If I ask for help, my family will survive. Trust me, they will. But you have to survive first. Because you can't save anyone if you're dead inside. Grace handed Carmen her phone number. Call me. Anytime. Day or night. I've been where you are. I know the way out. Let me help you. Carmen took the number. Stared at it. Why are you doing this? Because someone helped me when I needed it most. And because every woman deserves to own herself. No matter what papers she has or doesn't have. No matter where she's from or what she's running from. We deserve freedom. Real freedom. And sometimes we have to fight for it. Grace left the diner. Walked to the subway. Went home to her own apartment. Small. Modest. But hers. Nobody could take it from her. Nobody could use it to control her. It was hers. She'd paid for it with 7 years of her life. With her dignity. With pieces of her soul. But she'd paid. And now she was free. Some people say there's no price too high for freedom. Grace knew that wasn't true. She'd paid a price that almost killed her. A price she still paid every night in nightmares. Every morning when she looked in the mirror and saw a stranger. Every time someone touched her and she flinched. But she'd survived. And survival, she'd learned, wasn't the same as living. But it was the first step. So Grace kept walking. Kept fighting. Kept surviving. Until one day maybe she'd remember how to live again. And that was enough.